tale unfold, whose lightest word would harrow up thy soul, freeze thy young blood.
I am here to investigate the disappearance of a young girl. Where is Rowan Morrison?
If Rowan Morrison existed, we would know.
I suspect murder.
Sergeant, I've already
In the name of God, woman, what kind of mother are you? That can stand by and see your own child slaughtered.
You are the fool, Mr. Harry.
You're liars. You are despicable little liars.
Can't be that mad.
Where is Rowan Morrison?
If Rowan Morrison existed, we would know.
I suspect murder.
She was burned.
You are the fool, Mr. Harry.
Where is Rowan Morrison?
Oh my God!
Hello.
Welcome to Movie Humpers. My name is Bob Sham.
Thank you. I'm Angela.
Thank me.
You said welcome.
I was talking to listeners and viewers, not you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just have to be here.
Yeah, you do.
I love to be here.
You're not allowed to leave this room. So it's Halloween. It's Halloween season. We're doing Halloween Humpfest every weekday. A horror drop. And this movie that we're talking about today, for the most part, kind of feels more like a mystery.
Yes.
Until you get to the end, and then it becomes genuinely horrifying. And we're talking about a movie that I'm very fond of. It is 1973's The Wicker Man, directed by Robin Hardy, starring Edward Woodward, Christopher Lee. Yes, more Christopher Lee this week. And Britt Ekland, and several more. Britt Ekland plays the barkeep lady, the hottie.
The daughter.
She apparently dated, she was married to Peter Sellers for a few years.
Okay.
And Rod Stewart at some point. So yeah, The Wicker Man. We're bookending this week with some Christopher Lee stuff. A very Catholic cop comes to Summerisle
Yes.
in Scotland.
And Summerisle is named after the Summerisles. So there is a Lord Summerisle.
Yeah.
And that is Christopher Lee. But we don't meet him until quite a ways into the movie because this policeman has come here in search of a missing girl.
Yeah, he got a report that a girl is missing.
Rowan.
So when he first arrives, he's with these old men and he's showing this picture around. Everyone's like, I don't know her. I don't see her.
And they're saying things like, she's not of this island. If she was from here, we would know her. She does not exist here.
Yeah.
It's weird the way they say things.
They sent the most Catholic cop to this island.
Oh, yeah.
Just extremely Catholic.
And what's funny is they're all like, we don't know who that girl is. And then he says, well, her mother's name is Mae Morrison. And they go, oh, Mae. Right, Mae. No Mae. And then he asks again and they say, oh, right, she runs the post office.
Yeah. And
which is weird because it looks like a candy store inside of her post office.
yeah.
But her name, it's like Mae Morrison on the building. Like the idea that they might be like, we don't know a Mae is so funny to me.
You understand why this guy is so pissed off, but also he's I mean, obviously we're dealing with a cult. We kind of get that right away.
Very quickly. And everyone is like, you need to talk to Lord Summerisle before we can do anything. You need to talk to Lord Summerisle. And he just keeps going, I don't have to talk to anybody because I'm the authority.
So everyone is being vague as hell. You might want to... He probably should have called for backup when he realized that, like...
Immediately.
People are not really being very forthright and things are strange. He goes to the pub and he's not getting any more answers there, but he needs a room. Mm-hmm. And that lady there, played by Britt Ekland, they're basically singing a song about how, like, we're all hooking up with the barmaid.
Her ale, it is lively and strong to the taste. It is brewed with discretion, never with haste. You can have all you like if you swear not to waste. The landlord's daughter.
And he goes outside, and there's people, like, fucking in the grass.
Just, like, feet from each other. Just, like, a group of people just paired up, fucking. A woman naked crying by a tombstone.
Yeah.
There's some the imagery in this movie is amazing. This is another movie that you could just have playing in the background.
Yeah.
Of anything that you're doing.
And I like the old, the folk music style. Music's by Paul Giovanni. And I love that. I actually like that kind of old world folky kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
I'm kind of into that kind of music.
Me too.
Was upon a lammas night when corn rigs are bonny.
Ah, the fields are bonny.
Uh-huh.
Right?
Yeah.
Bonny means nice. Looks nice.
Pretty.
I looked that up before we started recording. Yes, because I didn't know. And there's all kinds of symbology and weird things that aren't Christian. And of course, this Catholic cop, he's right to be frustrated at the lack of information and the coyness and the getting run around, but he's also extremely judgmental on the faith before he really understands what's going on with it. He just knows that they are not Catholic.
It's weird the way he finds out more information about the girl, because at first it's like everyone's denying. And her mother even denies. She's like, I don't even have a daughter named Rowan. My daughter's in the other room. And she's like a younger child. Mm. And even that daughter, he asks her where Rowan is. And she's like, oh, she's running in the field. That's where hares run.
Yeah, because she's a hare.
Yeah, it was very bizarre. And then, as he keeps going, he goes to the schoolhouse and all the children pretend like they don't know her. Because she's like, you keep saying, is she alive? Where is she? But she is here.
He goes into her desk and finds an old roll call that has Rowan's name on it.
Right, yes.
You're liars. You are despicable little liars. Rowan Morrison is a schoolmate of yours, isn't she? And that is her desk, isn't it? Well, isn't it?
I think you ought to know.
And you are the biggest liar of all.
But she's like, no, she does not exist here. And he's like, so she's dead. And she's like, that might be the word you use. So, like, they don't believe that people die. It's like they just cycle through. There's this other thing where they grow a tree they plant a tree on every dead body. And there's a song. I loved this because there was like this maypole scene with little boys doing the maypole. And I don't know the history of the maypole, but when I've seen it, it's usually girls. But it was interesting. And they were singing a song about like the cycle of life. Like this tree grows from the land and feeds the people, and the man and the woman fuck, and then there's a child and the child dies and the tree grows. Like, it's like this whole cyclical, but everything is sexual.
Yes.
Everything is sexual.
They kind of show reverence to phallic objects and stuff like that. And Definitely. They see these girls dancing naked in a circle.
Young girls.
And if you'll notice, they weren't actually technically naked. They were in like body stockings.
They did have on body stockings.
Which led me to think like maybe they were young since they put them in body stockings.
It was supposed to be the same girls from the classroom.
Because why not just have like 20-year-old girls that can be naked and just say that they are, I guess.
Yeah, no, I did notice that they were wearing the body stockings, which I was glad once they made it obvious that was the same girls from the classroom who are all about like 15, which is Rowan's age. And because the teacher, that was like another lesson. She was like teaching them. So they're teaching them like these pagan arts, and everything's very sexual, but it's also like, I don't know, weirdly, anytime we watch anything like this, I'm always like, I I could get down.
Yeah, it seems
I could
fine.
get down with it.
Well, the first night he stays there, the barmaid, is played by Britt Ekland.
Oh, right.
Does this like spell, and she does this dance in her room.
She's like trying to seduce him.
And she's banging on the doors, and it's like to the beat of this song.
And she's singing.
And basically trying to seduce him. And you get this feeling that he's like sweating. He could just be.
He like ends up against the door.
It's like he's.
Or wall. Like.
Is it desire, or is he being like spelled on, you know?
A lot of witchy stuff.
So the next morning, she's straight up like, yeah, I was hollering for you.
I called you last night.
And he's like, I'm engaged and I don't believe in sex before marriage. This is the first Catholic to ever actually follow all the rules.
And he's like a grown-ass man.
Yeah.
Like in his 40s.
Yeah.
Seemingly. I mean, and yeah, has never.
He eventually makes his way to a grave that they say is Rowan's grave.
But there's no marker.
And there's a dried umbilical cord hanging off the tree there.
Yeah, that apparently was from her birth.
Yeah.
And I guess they keep stuff like that to then...
Yeah. Hang on to it. You never know.
Yeah.
Or you could eat it.
Yeah.
But they dig it up and he's like, okay, I got to see. And it's a hair. And it's a hair. But they find that out. He actually digs that up after he finally gets to meet Lord Summerisle.
Oh, yeah. There's also a bit where he goes to the register, like, for all the deaths and births should be recorded. Mm-hmm. And that woman straight up is like, oh, yeah, I know who Rowan Morrison is.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I know her. Oh, yeah, she's not here. You know, like, it's very, oh, yeah, she's dead.
And there's pictures.
Weird.
And at the pub, there's pictures of these girls showing all the bounty, the fruit. This Summerisle, we learned, there's something about the way the wind, the currents roll through around this island where you can plant certain fruits, even though it's also noted that a lot of these fruits aren't native to the island. So it makes things kind of, some years are better than others in terms of harvest and bounty.
Lord Summerisle's grandfather came there and did all this. They do kind of say at the end that the last season was the worst they've ever had. Everything is canned. He makes a big point of that, of like,
right.
Everything that they're feeding him is canned. And he says something about how these beans are not naturally turquoise. And the girl goes, some natural things are very vivid in color, or something like that.
Right.
It's just, I don't know. Everything is sex.
Yeah, for sure. But when we finally meet Lord Summerisle, as played by Christopher Lee, I forgot that this is kind of what he looked like. He's kind of got that Austin Powers haircut.
Don't compare him. Sorry. Okay, you're right. Maybe I just didn't want to compare him.
Because Austin Powers is taking the styles of that time. That's where he's out of time from.
No, sure. But yeah, it was interesting to see Christopher Lee in this because we've been watching all these Dracula films with him, and I didn't really know what he looked like before this. Or I didn't have a Christopher Lee image in my mind, right?
Did you ever watch those Lord of the Ring movies?
Yeah.
He's Saruman, the White.
Oh.
The villain with the long white hair.
Yeah.
Did you watch the Star Wars prequels?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure it was a long time ago, but he was Count Dooku.
Okay.
And he had the lightsaber that was a curved handle.
For sure. I guess what I'm saying is, like, before this last month, if you'd said to me, what does Christopher Lee look like? I wouldn't have been able to call that up in my mind. But now he is Dracula. Yeah. So seeing him in this, he kind of seemed like very jaunty and like
he's definitely
very like
wavy
and hippie,
kind of groovy.
It was
like Austin Powers.
Okay.
Lord Summerisle, where is Rowan Morrison?
Sergeant Howie, I think that you are supposed to be the detective here.
The cop, Howie, that's the cop's name. He needs permission to exhume the grave from Summerisle. It seems like he could just do it anyway, but he's going through the procedure. Yeah. And Summerisle's like, I don't fucking care. Mm-hmm. And that's when he goes back, digs up the grave, finds it's just a hare, a rabbit. I don't know the difference between a rabbit and a hare.
I don't either.
And then he comes back to Summerisle and just throws the fucking dead hair at him. And he's like, what the fuck is going on here? And he's like, I'm going to leave here tomorrow, and I'm bringing more people back with me.
And why are you saying all this?
Yeah, you should just go. He is broadcasting too much. He's letting himself get too worked up.
Yeah.
He's not wrong. I mean, he's He's essentially been baited into investigating a missing person. So you're sympathetic and you want him to find this person, but he could not be a little more fucking wound up or uptight about the whole thing.
And they're picking at him in such a calm way that it's infuriating him more. Like, for example, when he asks the teacher where Rowan is buried, and she says, you know, like over there, and he's like, in the churchyard. And she goes, well, the land in which she is buried is no longer attached to a Christian church. Yeah. So I don't know if you would call it a churchyard. And that kind of thing just makes his, like, eyes pop out of his head. You know? He's like, it's a fucking churchyard! Like, he's just so upset.
And apparently this island abandoned Christianity some generations ago and replaced it with, like, they went further back to the old world, to the paganism. He can't get off the island because obviously someone has sabotaged his fucking sea boat.
And it's May Day.
It is May Day. But also he had found a dark room at some point and found the picture of Rowan that was missing from the pub where they show the picture of the girls, whatever girl that year with the bounty. Harvest, and she's standing there and there is no harvest. Everything is empty as hell.
And he basically at that moment, he's like, she's not dead. They're going to sacrifice her in order to have a good harvest. He also goes to the library and proceeds to read out loud the history of the thing with this like old lady staring at him like, what are you talking about? But he's talking about how, you know, they're at the May Day celebration. It's like this old, you know, thing that was done back in the day. And there's different characters that are played. So there's this like hobby horse man, like a man half horse. There's I can't remember what they called it, but it's like the leader, like whoever is sort of the captain or the leader or of the group or the chief or whatever, dresses up like a woman and dances around, and that's Lord Summerisle. And then there's also Punch, which is like Punch and Judy. Like he's like the
fool.
Dastardly. He's like a trickster fool.
So the fool is supposed to be played by the pub guy. Yeah. And he knocks out the pub guy and takes his costume because he thinks he's going to be led to the sacrifice of Rowan. Mm-hmm. And the build up to here is like really great.
It is so good.
Because he's going through and he has to actually pretend. And at first they're like, come on, fool. You're sucking at this. Do it right. And then he starts slapping women's asses and getting into it.
They're like, use your bladder, which is like this like thing on a stick.
And being mischievous. And then they do this thing where he raises up on some of these rituals beforehand the part where he's reading out loud. And there's a part where they're doing like, everyone's got a sword and they're holding like a pentagram of swords. Yeah. And they've got to come through in a line with the swords around their neck, right? Mm-hmm. And they lower the swords around their neck and then they lift it up. And you see this one woman step up and the swords go around her neck and she looks scared. Mm-hmm. And then the swords go up and then she walks away. So you're like, fuck, what makes them decide to do the swords? So
they say it's a game of chance.
It's a game of chance. So a person in a costume rolls up, they put the swords around, and then they pull the swords and cut the head off. But the person's okay because it was just a prop on top of their head. Yeah. So it's this moment where you think, oh my God, they just killed someone. And it's like, no, and everyone's just giggling and laughing. And then finally, Lord Summerisle, dressed like a lady, is like,
and now, for our more dreadful sacrifice, to those who command the fruit of the earth.
Rowan.
And that's when Howie is like, okay, and he runs up there in his full costume.
Immediately runs to her.
And Rowan is like, sir, help me. And then they escape through the cave and she's like, I know passages through here. So they go through there like they're escaping, Rowan and Howie. And then they pop out from the other side and there's Lord Summerisle and several other people.
And Rowan looks at him and goes, did I do it right?
You did it beautifully. Dear little Rowan.
Rowan, darling. Come on now.
And then it's like, hey, guess what, dude? Yeah. This was all, we did every single thing that has happened and has been said to you has been planned. We on purpose brought you here.
He embodies everything that is perfect for a sacrifice. Mm-hmm. And they think it's going to bring back their harvest.
Because they say, like, an animal is good, a child is better, but the right kind of man is best. Or the right kind of adult is best. And so it's like a Christian, right? A virgin.
Yeah.
So a lawman. Like, you have to come of your own volition.
Yeah, like a representative of power.
And he got there completely of his own volition, even into that moment.
The little old beetle goes round and round, always the same way, you see, until it ends up right up tight to the nail. Poor old thing.
I would love to see the research in which they were like, okay, who are we going to pull here? Do they have connections?
Did one of them go to the mainland?
Do they have connections inside that police department? Because they literally, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of Catholic cops, but this dude is the most uptight Catholic cop you've ever seen in your life.
But for no one to ever interfere with them, for no one to ever go to that island, maybe they do have an agreement with someone there.
Interesting. Like, they've got their web going on there.
Yeah, to make sure that he's the one sent. I mean, obviously, now he did say that the letter came to him asking for help. It was an anonymous letter with a picture of her that said, this girl's been missing for 8 months.
Yeah.
We don't know what's going on, but she's missing, and everyone acting like she doesn't. We need help.
It's kind of interesting because it's just a war of faiths here. You got old paganism and then Christianity, which is very old, but not as old as that in that region. Mm-hmm. But from the perspective of Howie, as deeply Catholic as he is, he's also trying to assert scientific and biological reason as to why their crops are not growing. Mm-hmm. Because like I said, a lot of those fruits and stuff are not native to the island, but there is something about the environment there and the way the wind, the warm currents or whatever.
So he does say that. But then when they're basically like, we're going to sacrifice you, he starts yelling about how your crops didn't grow because you don't believe in God. God didn't let your crops grow.
And in that sense, in his desperation, it becomes like they're both using their faith as something desperate, right? Mm-hmm. And do you believe that Lord Summerisle really believed that sacrifice would work?
I believe that, I don't know, because he says something early on. I actually wanted to talk about this. He says something early on about how, you know, his grandfather came there and the whole thing was the island was poor and everyone was unhappy and they were like a Christian island and they couldn't grow shit. And the grandfather came there and did experiments, figured out what could grow there, made, and you know, said to the people, like, you're unhappy. What do you want? And they kind of went to like their old ways, like the old ways of the island, right? And that's when they started bringing up these like old gods and this new religion. And then Lord Summerisle said that what his grandfather built out of science, his father continued out of love.
Yeah.
And so I think if anyone doesn't believe, it's him, and I think everyone else completely does. And whether he's doing it for morale or he really believes it, he believes it's important to happen, right?
Yeah.
Like, he may not think that it's directly going to make the crops okay, but he knows it's going to sustain the people, which is more important. And they haven't done this before. They said something at one point, like, all those pictures, there was bounty. Like, I don't think their crops have failed in a very long time. I don't believe that they have sacrificed people in this way, but I believe that they think it is normal and should be done. Yeah. Like, maybe they've always talked about it. You know, no one bats an eye. Yeah. And I do believe they've sacrificed animals.
There's one point where I think they talk about putting like some kind of spell on him and how he wakes up and there's a hand, like a candle with wicks coming out.
Yes.
And that was probably like a real hand, right?
I think so. So what it was he said he wanted to go lay down before the May Day thing. And now that we know that it's all a plan, I mean, they were talking very close to him. They knew that he wasn't asleep, I think. I think they wanted him to hear all of this. So basically, the girl and her father at the inn, she's saying like, oh, I don't want to give this to him because it could knock him out for who knows how long. And the dad's like, well, that's good. We want him to miss everything today. And who cares if he sleeps a couple days? Like they said, we have to get him out of here kind of deal. And so then like, yeah, he pretends he's asleep so that they can do their thing. They light something and he wakes up and yeah, it's this hand and all the tips of the fingers are on fire. And I don't know. Maybe it was a real hand. It could have definitely been the hand of an already dead person. I don't think they like killed somebody to make this hand.
Yeah. Or cut off someone's hand. Now, this cult seems fine with me. I mean, everyone's like cool with go busting off on each other in the grass.
Sure.
Seems to be sexually open. No complaints there.
Yeah.
But, you know, sacrifice, even like animal sacrifice, which is probably something that
I think is maybe what they normally do.
But animal sacrifice.
But I don't know. They don't really say.
Animal sacrifice is biblical as well. You go back into the Old Testament, they're sacrificing animals left and right.
Yeah, but they were doing that pre-biblical. Like that was actually, I think, something that I think that's why like they did away with that in the New Testament. Because that's kind of like the old way that people were still hanging on to. Yeah,
it's not like contemporary Jewish.
When God was still angry.
It's not like contemporary Jewish people are doing animal sacrifices. I don't know much about the Orthodox Judaism faith, but
I doubt it's happening these days.
So they stick him into the Wicker Man, this giant thing. They put him
different cages with different animals in it too.
Mighty God of the sun, bountiful goddess of our orchards, accept our sacrifice and make our blossoms fruit.
Mighty God of the sun, bountiful goddess of our orchards, hear ye the words of the Lord! Sacrifice and make our blossoms. Awake, ye heathens, and howl! It is the Lord who hath laid waste your orchards. It is he who
reverence
hath made
the sacrifice.
And they're singing this song, and they're swaying back and forth, and they're having. They look like they're so happy to be doing this.
Summer is a-coming in, now we sing for good. Grows the seed and grows the mead, and springs the moon of dew.
And he's just begging and praying to God, and praying that he makes them see the light and that God preserves him and makes it painless. And
please take him to heaven.
Please take him to heaven, to paradise. And, you know, they set all this up, but what if he fucked the barmaid?
I know. You know, I actually think it was a test. I think they needed to make sure he was the right person. And if he had fucked the barmaid, then he wasn't the right guy. But if he was like so virtuous, they on purpose probably said to her, like, seduce him.
If it takes that long to set that up, like, don't fuck Howie even if he's going to give it to you.
If he had fucked her, he's not the right person and it wouldn't have worked in their thinking. Like,
but by the time you set up the next virgin cop, it's going to be spring again.
Yeah, but I guess, like, would they just maybe have to find someone else, skip a year? I don't know. But the way their religion goes, I believe it was a test, which is also sort of like biblical, you know, like this whole like, are you really as holy, whatever, as you say that you are? And the fact that he denied this woman who everybody wants to fuck, and most people have, it seems like, then he's perfect.
Yeah.
Because what if they were like, we got to make sure? Because if he wasn't really, and he just like proclaimed to be a virgin and proclaimed to be virtuous, he'd have fucked her in a second because she's hot as shit.
He didn't fuck Britt Ekland?
Come on.
We're definitely burning him alive.
Hell yeah. Idiot.
He's also asking Lord Summerisle as they're like revealing everything to him, is like, what are you going to do if this doesn't work? And he's like, well, we'll go back and try someone else. And he's like, what does that mean if it doesn't work with me and that you go to the next one? What does that mean? Like, he's trying to be like, you pretty much will just murder someone.
Well, and he basically starts yelling that, like, if this doesn't work and your crops fail again, you're going to have to kill Lord Summerisle. It's like he's trying to, like, scare him into being like, oh, no, don't kill me next time.
And Summerisle's like, well, if we don't take the unwilling you now, we'll do the willing king next
But he
time.
Also says it's going to work.
Yeah.
He's like, it's going to work. If it doesn't, we'll figure it out, but it's going to work.
So, yeah.
I want to know if it did.
The scene's taking its time. They're dancing around. The flames are rising. And it's really horrifying because the most horrifying part is that you can hear the animals screaming around him as he's praying, as the flames rise up and up. And then it just is a scene that just takes its time. And like I said, this movie seemed more like a mystery. And then you get to this part and it's genuinely one of the most terrifying scenes we'll probably see all month long.
Yeah.
And we're much scarier than the bees scene in the Nick Cage version.
Oh, no, not the bees! Not the bees! Ah! Oh, my eyes! My eyes! Ah!
Yeah.
The Wicker Man.
I remember that version. I don't think I'd seen this before.
They knock him out with the bees. And
I
then,
remember
and
the
then
bees.
that's
I
when
remember the Nick Cage
They use
version.
bees to knock him out. And that's how he goes into the Wicker Man, I think.
I do want to watch it again just because.
Yeah.
I'm curious about comparison.
All due respect to the King Nick Cage.
We do love Nick Cage.
The Crown Prince, like, the man deserves a Humpy Award all on his own. But
just for being him.
That movie is also infamously bad. And
for sure. I mean, and this one is so good.
I mean, when you know this one exists, I think the thing that makes that Wicker Man remake feel so bad is when you know that this movie exists and it's awesome.
Yeah. And why did they even need to? And also, why didn't Nick Cage play Lord Summerisle? Because that would make sense in my mind.
He
like
would
if
have
you
been
were like Nick
such
Cage
a better
is
Lord
in the Wicker
Summerisle.
Man, and I didn't already know that he was the Howie character, I would just straight up assume he was Lord Summerisle.
Yo, that would have been great.
Yeah.
Or whoever that person was. Did they even have a Lord Summerisle?
I don't know.
I don't even remember.
Know. I just remember the bees. That's all I remember.
I feel like the 2000s and the 2010s are just remakes that no one ever asked for, you know? This
is true.
Loads
There's
of them.
so many.
Like I actually made a list for our movie roulettes.
Yeah.
That were of remakes, and you're stunned at how many remakes that they made of movies that people love, but no one talked about these fucking remakes.
And also, they weren't even that old to be being remade. Like there was a remake of Flatliners.
Yeah, that was fairly recent too.
From our childhood, that was the scariest movie I think I had seen when I was a kid, because I wasn't allowed to watch a bunch of scary movies, but Julia Roberts was in that movie. So somehow that was okay for us to watch in my house.
And Queefer Sutherland.
Queefer Sutherland. To me, that was one of the I did say it. That was one of the scariest movies ever. Because it was the scariest one I had seen. But like that idea of like when you die, like your hell is like your own personal hell. It's fucking scary. Yeah. But did we need a remake of that 15 years later? Fuck no.
I honestly, as much as that did leave an impression on you in your childhood.
Yeah.
I won't honestly say that Flatliners was some like culturally cornerstone movie in the whole zeitgeist.
Yeah, I guess like
film.
I have a
it's just
a weird view on that movie.
I remember it, but like, yeah, I think you have weird attachments to certain movies. But like, if you think about everything else growing up, it wasn't like people were just talking about Flatliners all the time.
But okay, more to the point, why remake it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. Fuck it. Go back and writer strike some more. Tell them to stop fucking making these shitty ass.
No more remakes.
Right. So we're gonna rate this movie. You're gonna give it 1 through 5. I'm gonna give it 1 through 5 combined for best out of 10. I love this movie.
I do too.
I fucking love this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it just feels like the precursor to a lot of other movies we've come to see over the years, like
and movies we love,
like your Midsommers and stuff like that. Yes. Like every like cult thing. Christopher Lee is fucking great in it. Edward Woodward is such an excellent, like uptight as fuck, like little Catholic cop.
Every single character in this movie is so interesting. Every single little old man that you don't even really know his name. Like, they're all so individual. I don't know. I just love every second of this movie. It's a gorgeous movie.
And all the tension and, like, the anger. And, like, you kind of get that, you feel that frustration along with him. And yet you're wishing he would maybe approach things a little different, because it just seems like they made a mark out of this guy and he could not have made it more easy for them.
Well, and they so many times like directly compare the Christian religion with their pagan religion, and he cannot see how they're both ridiculous. Like the woman, like at the roots of it, like the teacher at one point says, well, the children find it much easier to understand reincarnation than resurrection.
Yeah.
You know, like there's this whole idea of like, you think someone came back to life. We just think that people go back into the earth and the environment. And honestly, that does make more sense. I don't believe in it, but like. And
all I'm saying is just stop the ritual sacrifice.
Yeah, no, you don't kill anybody.
And I'll hang in your cult.
Yeah.
Just do some metaphorical sacrifice.
I would also go live in the Midsummer cult.
I'm a dude. I'm not living in that cult. They'll put my ass in a bear suit.
Not if you're cool.
Fuck that.
You gotta be cool.
Being cool's got nothing to do with it. That's too risky. So what do you give this? What do you give this?
5.
5. Oh man.
For everything that you just said, I'm giving it a 5. It's influential. It's beautiful. I wouldn't change a thing about it.
What would you change? Truly,
nothing.
What would you change? I'm pretty much going to give it a 5 as well.
I
do love this movie.
It's so good.
Also, I'll update it on our little thing. Like it doesn't matter, but I've decided that if something breaches the threshold of S tier, it doesn't need a score beside it. It's just an S tier movie. So once something breaches that 9.5, the idea that it's 9.75, 9.5 or 10, like it's meaningless. Once you hit S tier, you're just S tier. So The Wicker Man by Robin Hardy is S tier. And Robin Hardy, he did not make many movies. This is definitely his most critically acclaimed, well-regarded movie. He made another movie about like a serial killer, another movie that has like a cult angle to it. I think he kind of shoehorned himself a little bit from the influence of The Wicker Man because it became so iconic. And he made a sequel, I think in the 21st century, called The Wicker Tree. Was supposed to be a spiritual sequel.
Oh, okay.
But it doesn't, I don't think he ever caught that magic the same way. And apparently he wrote some book that was supposed to be kind of like a sequel to The Wicker Man, even though The Wicker Man is based on some works that some other author wrote. Yeah. And the movie is written by Anthony Schaefer. Robin Hardy, interesting guy. It seemed like he made one thing that was absolutely fucking amazing.
And then he was chasing that for the rest of it.
Yeah.
Oh, man. That's actually kind of sad.
A little bit. Yeah. A little bit, yeah. But you can't take away what he did make here. And he did make an S tier fucking movie. I'm going to delete these scores. It's just going down the list. Don't even think of them like this one is better than all these.
I was going to say, should we reorder them or no? Just put them in alphabetical order.
But check the show notes for links and other places to find us. Do you love the original Wicker Man as much as we do? It is probably going to be our highest rated movie this month.
Yeah, I think so.
And I love this movie very much. It's a lot of fun and fucked up in like the best ways. And like and subscribe, leave a comment, tell us what's up. Our Near Dark review, a little controversial. People love that movie. But look, we take our vampires real seriously.
We do.
We're not into the modern romantic vampires, but we are kind of into the classic romantic vampires.
Yes.
Let's get out of here.
Okay. Death to all traitors.